Hello, friend. I know you just saw me, and here I am again. But this morning I was putting together some notes that I thought were really helpful to me. So I was kind of breaking some things down, and I thought that it might be something interesting to you as well. Because it's about, the relationship that we have with our inner being. So ultimately, it's the relationship that we have with ourselves, right? So I'm a wordy person and I like words. And so I looked up some words to kind of break things down a little bit. Because I think if you understand some of the breakdown of words, it helps you put things together in a more cohesive way. So the root word of state is derived from the Latin word status, meaning condition or circumstances. And I really like that because, the state that you're choosing to inhabit is important to understand. What does that mean? So it's basically your status, right? The condition or circumstances that you're inhabiting. A state has 4 characteristics: population, territory, sovereignty, and government. So I broke it down like this. The population is 1 because there's only 1 inhabitant in your state, right? You, the I am, your inner being, right? It's all one. It's not really separate. Sometimes it feels separate. Sometimes it seems like we're 2 separate things, but we're not. So, the territory is a field or sphere of action. Your domain, your realm, your concern. That's your territory. And sovereignty is having supreme power or authority. And government is how you govern yourself, right? So the definition of state, the particular condition that someone or something is in at a specific time. So it's your condition, your shape, your situation, right? Your state of affairs, your character, your capacity. And if you make that into a verb, it's how you express, voice, utter, say, tell, declare, affirm, and assert. And these are like really powerful ways of understanding what your state is, right? So your state of being affects every aspect of your life. The states that you choose to inhabit will either support your inner being or it will imprison it. Excuse me. So freedom is the state of being free. It's the exemption from external control or interference, regulation, etc. Which I think is really, really important to grasp that. It's the power to determine action without restraint. That's freedom. It's personal liberty as opposed to bondage or slavery. It's freedom from fear. So it's freedom from anything that would restrain you, right? And then your mind. Mind in conscious being that reasons, thinks, feels, wills, perceives, judges, etc. And if you throw a verb at that, it's the mind is to pay attention to heed or obey. Synonyms for the mind are attention, head, brain, imagination, consciousness, instinct, genius, and intellect. Attitude, feeling, desire, judgment, determination, mood, I, and opinion. So I really like the eye because that brings me to the mind's eye. And the mind's eye is feeling, appreciation, mind, belief, taste, conviction, view, and discernment. To observe or watch narrowly or, closely. So with your mind's eye. So these are my notes, on all of this. So a state of mind is a person's mood, and that affects the mood, and that affects, and the effects that mood has on a person's thinking and behavior, the condition or character of a person's thoughts or feelings. So that's what a state of mind is. So when we think about the states we choose to inhabit, it's relevant to explore and be aware of what you're choosing to build. That's why I'm talking about these things, because I think it's valuable to have an idea of what putting it all together and what it means. So when you inhabit something, it means to live or dwell in. The states you choose to inhabit are the states you occupy and make your home in. And this is why when something is unwanted, it doesn't feel good. And when something is wanted, it feels better, or it feels good. So to abide or live in a certain place, in a state of mind worthy of your inner being, is you choosing where you will hang out within your own thoughts and feelings. For these become the dominant states you occupy. They become your home. You live from the states that you dwell in, or that you choose to dwell in. So within your mind, your perfect imagination, you can choose to occupy, explore, and inhabit any state you want to. The characteristic of your 4 states will help lay the foundation. Because, number 1, the population of your state is 1. There is only one operant power, and that is you. There is only one inhabitant, and that is you. You and your inner being are 1. 2, your territory is your concern. Because, it's what you should concern yourself with. You have domain over your territory, right? It is your domain. It is your sphere of action and thought. And so 3 is sovereignty. You are sovereign, and you have supreme power and authority in and over your territory. So you have supreme power in and over your thoughts, your sphere of action. Your realm, that's all yours. You have power and authority over that. So you rule over yourself 100%. It's all you. There's nothing else outside of you ruling you, unless you're allowing that. So govern. How you govern the one body is completely up to you. Nothing outside of you can govern you unless you allow it, right? Like I just said. Nothing outside of you has power over you unless you give it your authority. You give your authority away to an illusory construct, right? Because there is no outside of you that has power. It's all just a reflection of what you're giving to yourself. So you're not separate from your inner being. You're not separate from your inner beingness. You are whole. You are one. The non-physical and the physical each have a sovereign part to play. Participation is this reality. We're all here in bodies participating, right? Because participation moves you into greater and greater awareness and expansion. If you're not participating, then you're probably feeling stuck and other things that come with that, right? So resistance, it limits movement and freedom. And allowing is expansion and freedom. So the more you're in a state of resistance, the more you will feel limited, and you will feel that limitation limiting your freedom. And the more you're in a state of allowing, the more you will be feeling expansion. You'll be experiencing freedom, because freedom is your natural state. Anything less than freedom is a form of bondage. Unwanted thoughts, regardless of how reasonable they seem, are always tethered to resistance. Resistance isn't anything to take personal. It's not a punishment or a reward. It's just simply an opposing force to what is wanted. It's showing you what you're focused on. It brings all its comrades along with it. Resistance shows you the state or the states that you inhabit. Allowing is the state of freedom, and freedom is the unopposed state. You begin to bear witness, observe, and thus experience all that comes with it. So the more that you give yourself sovereign authority, right? Power and authority over what states you choose to inhabit through your moods, through your feelings. The more you actively allow yourself to be where you want to be in those states, rather than in states that feel like unwanted states. And we all know what unwanted states feel like. They don't feel good. And they bring with them all of the things that go with that. And that's often when people start feeling truly miserable and are feeling like they're suffering. And I mean, this has been my experience. So the more that I'm moving within my own territory, with my own power, giving myself what I want, the more I govern myself with what is wanted, and I allow myself to have what is wanted, the more it shows up in my world. And it becomes less and less of like something that I have to do, but it's more like something that I be. I am just being the sovereign being that I am, and then I'm experiencing that because I'm giving that to myself, and that's what I'm receiving back from my inner beingness. So it's really like I've kind of figured out, more or less, that there is no separation between me and my inner being, and it's more of like a fluid, flowing connection of the truth of me, and I don't have to make it hard. And it only feels hard when I'm tacking resistance onto anything that I'm giving to myself. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. And the way that I kind of just laid all of this out this morning, it felt really good. And because I woke up, like with immediate negative thoughts in my head, stressful thoughts about a couple of things, to do with nothing even important, really, because I know that it all works out once I, focus on what I want, see? But I didn't establish that, I suppose, extremely firmly. And I didn't govern myself super intently last night before I went to bed. I was just tired and I went to bed. But when I woke up, I recognized that there were states that I could inhabit, but I didn't want to, because I didn't feel like the states I wanted to inhabit. And so once I sat down and I started doing a little exploration, everything just started falling into place and making a lot more sense to me. And now I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp on what I'm doing. And now it's just about governing myself, practicing, giving myself an imagination, what I'm wanting, giving that to my inner self, my inner life, so that that's reflected back to me. And I honestly believe that's, why it's, for me, I don't like to participate or spend a whole lot of time looking at the observable what is in the outer world, because it's all kind of crazy and weird. And all of it is out of my control, in the sense that I can't take physical action to change any of it. And I'll start to feel like this resistance and this, it's almost like a feeling of powerlessness, because none of that is what I need to be focusing on. I think all of that is just being reflected back to all of us, because there's a lack of us really governing ourselves and giving ourselves what we want. And so and like I said, resistance isn't personal. It's going to show up, and it's just going to show us the states that we're inhabiting. So if everyone's inhabiting a really crappy mood and a really jaded outlook and a really cynical view of everything, if everyone is just, filled with superstitious thinking, like the devil is making this happen, or, there's so much evil in the world, none of that is my concern. None of that. And I don't have to give that any of my time or my energy. None of it feels good. And it's going to work itself out. It does what it does. I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to focus on what I have control over, because I'm a sovereign being and I have power and authority over my territory, my mind, my state of mind. Is the only thing I have to concern myself with. Everything else after that will begin reflecting it back to me. And that's what I believe. So anyways, I hope this finds you in a beautiful state of mind, feeling good, and enjoying your precious, beautiful life. And until we talk again, friend.